That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the General.
And we are your hosts of Street Politicians, the place where the streets and politics meet. You are a birthday boy. How you feeling?
21, baby. I'm 21 years old. I'm feeling blessed and highly favored, man. Another year around the sun, man. You know, I'm here.
Yeah, another year around the sun. I love that in your birthday post, you said that you love you. And
love me.
That's what it's all about right now, is loving ourselves. You know, when I was at the Billboard Music Awards, Mary had a powerful speech. So, you know, of course, there's much to be said about what happened to me.
Yes, you were celebrated.
Yes.
Diddy gave you
but before we talk about that, Mary was speaking, and I was gonna say that Mary and Janet Jackson in the same place blew my mind. I mean, I was totally starstruck, but anyway. So Mary was saying that, you know, she finally found her true love. And she said, my true love is me. She said, people ask, you know, who's managing Mary now? And she was like, you know, I'm managing Mary, you know, and I thought that was just such a powerful message, you know, that just like we've had other trends, you know, now there's the trend of people trying to take better care of their mental health. Because, you know, of course, that's not something that we did in the past. It was looked at as a stigma to go to the, you know, a therapist and all of that. But there's a trend that has happened where people are, you know, starting to take care of themselves and think more about their mental well-being. And I think the new trend that I would love for us to be on is just this idea of loving ourselves and building ourselves up. And, you know, because this world is like trying to tear every single thing around us down. And, you know, I think we have to be encouraging ourselves and our children to love yourself. As my auntie would say, love yourself. So happy birthday to you. You look young, but you're old.
Listen, man, you're only as old as you feel, man. I'm seasoned. I'm a seasoned young vet, man. So, and I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling real good, and God bless, man. So,
yeah, well,
so back to the Billboard Awards.
Yes, crazy.
Where you had a beautiful honor.
Crazy.
It was crazy how it happened. Like, you called me like, Mice, I'm about to do this. And I'm like, what's going on? I got to do this. Diddy wants me to come here. And I'm like, all of this stuff, man. But it was well-deserved, man. You looked up there, you looked marvelous. You said what needed to be said, in and out, you know, and he said real powerful words about, you know, giving you your flowers and, you know, you always showing up and being on the front lines and, you know, and you're our leader. So we already know that, you know, the world, I'm glad that the world gets to see what us at Until Freedom, you know, we witness every day. So congratulations to that.
Thank you. It was really a heart, like a touching moment for me. You know, backstage, I cried hard. I almost cried on the stage. And Tariq, my son, he says, oh yeah, Mom, I saw it in your face. You were gonna cry. You know, he knows me. I was like holding back tears because that good old makeup that I had from my homegirls that got me together in 24 hours. It was less than 24 hours. They got me together in Vegas. Shout out to my girl, Bree. And, you know, I wanted to really, like, in that moment, I was like, wow, like, not tears of sadness, but tears of like pride. I think I was also proud that he was able to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that Puff was able to use the Billboard Awards and just basically go off script and give me a Revolt Award, which is his own network, during the show in front of millions of international viewers. It was like so powerful. And like you said, I was in San Francisco speaking to a group of Black women, which was also super powerful. And I got a call from him saying, I need you to be in Vegas. And the thing is, it wasn't like I could just get there, the next day. You had to get tested, COVID tested within a certain amount of time. And in order for me to get that test, I had to actually leave San Francisco immediately, get on the flight, go to Vegas. I mean, it was a lot. And those kinds of experience. And then, and I didn't have anything in my suitcase to wear. So all of that stuff I had to figure out. But those types of experiences are the ones you never forget. And I'm so grateful to my brother Puff for, one, being a partner in the fight, but also for using such a big platform to give me my flowers. It's just something I'll never, ever, ever forget.
It was a beautiful moment. I deserve it.
And it's just so crazy, Mike, because it's like, it's your birthday. You're trying to enjoy your time. I received this powerful award, and yet hanging over our heads is the darkness of our people being massacred in Buffalo, New York. You can't even celebrate without something terrible happening, even to the point where, in trying to celebrate the award, also in, wanting to celebrate you and your birthday, I struggled with the right post, the right things to say at a time when people are so hurt and broken. It is really, really, I don't know. I don't know, Mice. I just don't know what to say.
I mean, it's a lot, man. Like you said, my birthday, the massacre of, these 10 people. And then today you wake up and they killed a little girl in the Bronx, shot her in the stomach. And it's like, and I just put a post up, like, at what point do we wake up, man? Like, we realize that white supremacy wants us dead. So they you have white supremacists that come in our neighborhoods, it's killing us. We got police that dress up. We got white supremacists dressed up as police that's trying to kill us. And then we in our own communities taking out our own soldiers and our own babies. Like, this is overwhelming, man. It's overwhelming. And you know what? I realized that hurt people. Then you got people attacking everybody because they confused. They don't know what to do. And it's just like, we really need a moment to really just think and take it all in, man, because I can't process it. Like, I don't have just last week, I had to go, a kid was shot in my neighborhood, and I had to go in front of the store that I go to, that me and my kids go to on the daily. You know what I'm saying? So all of these,
he was still there, and there's actual video of that young man. His
video.
Life.
The video, and I'm trying to put life back into his body, and it's just like, it's just too much. Like, we are really dealing. This is the pandemic. This is the pandemic and the epidemic, and it's so much. We're overwhelmed, man. So I don't even know the right words to say. I don't know what to do, but I know we have to do something. I know that we really have to be strategic and intentional about doing something to try to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, well, speaking of being intentional, we have our brother from Buffalo coming up as a guest today, and really just want to take this show and just do a special today where we're not talking about all the things that we generally do, and just focus on what the people, the local community in Buffalo, what is needed. I think we should bring them on. So for all the guests who are tuned in, listening in, and watching, first of all, Jamil Crews is our brother. You guys know we have a running thing on this show about having our friends. We've got friends all across the country doing amazing things, amazing work. And Jamil Crews is an organizer, an activist, and also a businessman there in Buffalo, in the community where this terrible massacre took place. And Jamil, first of all, I can't imagine your own mental health, like where you are in this moment, living in a community and being there all the time and having an office that is right there in the vicinity for where this shooting took place, having a wife and a brand new baby who could have been at the office that day and just needed to run across the street to the store. You just don't know. And I know you probably are thinking about all the scenarios of, one, the folks who died, but also how you could have been one of them, your staff members. And I just want to say to you that my heart is so broken, and I don't know the right words to say to you and the community there, but just know that you have love and support from people around the nation.
No, well, I certainly appreciate that. As you guys can imagine, it's a mixed bag of emotions right now. We went through, I know me personally, just went through an entire range of emotions, shock, anger, frustration, questioning how this happened in our community. We see this stuff happening all the time, right, across the country. But you never think that it'll happen in your community, in your backyard. And the fact that, again, that it happened right outside of my office. I have an office space right next door to where this incident happened. And like you said, I could have been there. I usually work on Saturdays. My people from my team were in the office at the time when it happened. I had one of my guys who was there. I was talking to him throughout the day on Saturday, and he told me, he was like, one of the guys who was in the office, there's a corner store like right across the street from where this incident happened. One of the young men who was there, he went across the street to that store just to grab something to drink. And as he's coming out, he's hearing the gunshots and he's seeing bodies laying on the ground. So, and again, that could have been me. I was actually supposed to be going to my office on that Saturday because I had to drop off some stuff there. But, unfortunately, my wife was sick at the time and I was, tending to her. So that's why I wasn't there. But again, that could have been me. I literally arrived moments after the situation happened.
Wow. When you look at it on the news, we unfortunately, we have to deal with this work all the time. One of my closest friends is from Buffalo, and he was telling me how, this is the regular supermarket most of the people in that area go to, and it's frequented by mainly Black people. So I just want to get a kind of feel like, what are people feeling? Is it really dreary time out there? How are the people responding?
Again, it's still a large, the level of shock that's taking place right now. Because again, you don't think that this is going to happen in your community. As you stated, the neighborhood that this supermarket is in, 80% of the people that live there are Black people, right? So this is a large, and we have a huge Black population here in the city of Buffalo. Contrary to what a lot of people might think or feel about the city, we have a huge concentration of people of color here in the city. It's actually a majority minority city, so. But for that particular area, and for that to happen, first of all, that supermarket is the only one in the entire neighborhood. If that supermarket wasn't there, that neighborhood would be a food desert. So people rely on that supermarket, going there to get fresh fruits and vegetables, to being able to do those things. If not, they will be having to get their groceries from the corner store, right? So that's why it is so important that we, that supermarket was over there, so, and
there was a political struggle to get that supermarket open, right? I think
absolutely.
So people really fought to make sure that the supermarket was in the community.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, the supermarket opened back in 2002, 2003, and you got to think during that time, Buffalo, we weren't as much of a progressive city as we are now, right? There was still, it's still very much so a heavily segregated city. One of the most segregated cities in the country, actually. So at that time, though, you had the power structure in place, wanting to keep that status quo in place. So they wanted to keep the Black people, down, and and other people elevated. So yeah, there was a collective effort at the time with our current mayor, who was the city councilman in that district at the time, to bring that grocery store to the area. So that's why it was really important, because again, when I tell you guys, it's literally like no supermarkets within a several mile radius. It's actually the only supermarket on the east side of Buffalo. The only one. And if you know anything about Buffalo, the east side is predominantly African American populated. So.
And it's like, you gotta wonder, maybe I'm being a conspiracy theorist or however they say it, but you gotta wonder whether or not he, as the shooter, really targeted, not just like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna go to this store, but like whether he knew some of what you're talking about, and then who else did he communicate with that potentially helped him choose where to go. Like I'm unwilling to let these be standalone issues where, oh, just some crazy person went out and did. I believe it is an attack that is coordinated happening, somewhere, and it's being organized, because it's too much of a sweet spot for him to live 3 hours away and just happen to come to Buffalo and choose this particular store.
Tamika, it's not a conspiracy theory whatsoever. He actually stated, and there have been reports that have come out where he actually stated that he studied the census map in that area. He studied the census map.
Wow, I didn't read the manifesto. So
yeah,
okay. Mm-hmm.
This is a well-coordinated attack that took place.
At 18 years old.
At 18.
Wow.
I really want to know what level of poison a mind has to be fed to have this level of coordination, to do this level of evil. Like, to really coordinate this level of evil, how does the mind, what do they feed into these kids? These are kids, like literally 18. Like, what do they feed into these kids that they literally have poisoned them to the point where they commit atrocities?
Listen, this is not something that there's, like you said, it was a one-off. This isn't something that you had this one person who just was, maybe saw some stuff online and just was indoctrinated. No, this stuff was taught at home, man. This stuff was taught at home.
And it was taught by, and it was in his theory that I did read, the white replacement theory, is being taught on Fox News by Tucker Carlson on a regular basis.
In political terms, this policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans.
The strategy is to change the demographics of the country. You disempower the people who live here. You take their votes away. The Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate. How precisely is diversity our strength? Since you've made this our new national motto, please be specific as you explain it. Can you think, for example, of other institutions, such as, I don't know, marriage or military units, in which the less people have in common, the more cohesive they are? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values?
So to your point, this is being ingrained in his mind.
Yes. So again, this is not a one-off situation. With all of the media around, like you said, you just referenced Tucker Carlson. He had over 400 references of this replacement theory over the last couple of years. You know what I mean? So between that and just the stuff you're finding out online, and I promise you, this stuff is self-taught. I mean, this stuff is learned at home. These are learned behaviors.
Yeah.
These are learned behaviors. So this, we really got to sit back and really think about like that. Like how do you get to a point where you get that much indoctrinated, or you have that much evil in your heart that you want to inflict this much pain on a community? I had a chance, and somebody told me, guys, not to watch the full video.
Yeah.
Right. I saw the full video and it completely broke me. Yeah. Because these are some of the most vulnerable people that you're talking about. You're talking about elders in our community, 70, 80 plus year old women, people's grandmothers, mothers, aunts, uncles, you know what I mean? Like, and to see, the harm he inflicted. I mean, I literally, when I watched that video that night, I literally cried myself to sleep. I cried myself to sleep. And I'm not a big emotional person like that, but I couldn't unsee what I saw. It's still to this very moment, I still cannot unsee what I saw. So, I mean, it hurts. It does hurt.
You know what, Mice, when I hear you ask the question, what level of like coordination and what goes into your mind for you to commit such evil, I think you forget where we just came from last month.
No, but I'm saying, and I say that because of that, because that's what I sat, when I went to Elmina Dungeons, formerly known as Castles to most, but when I sat in there and we got the history and understood how people have been treated, killed, enslaved, and just all the things that were done, that's what went through my mind. And like I said, I'm never going to not think that, because I don't have a soul that has no empathy or that doesn't have any kind of remorse. Like, my spirit cannot even fathom the level of evil that we be talking about, right? And it's normal. This is like, every year, 2 years, we got mass shootings, kids in schools, now it's supermarkets, churches, and I really be trying to understand. And I'd be like, and how do you hate people that much? How do you, because it wasn't, because he had empathy for the white person, right?
The white man.
Sorry,
the white man. White man, yeah.
White man. And that's something, I don't want people to miss that. I don't know if there's another white man that was shot. I know there's 2 white victims, right? But I know one is a white woman who's deceased. I don't know if the other person.
The white woman died too?
One white woman died.
One white woman did, yeah.
Right, but there's another white person who was also shot. And I'm not sure if that person is a man or woman and whether they have lived or not.
It might have been that man that he said sorry to. He probably shot him and then said sorry.
I don't think so. I think that man was completely spared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
I needs to interview him and just and because I want to know what his mind state is.
Like, how does he feel?
How does he feel? Like, is there some survivor's guilt, remorse?
Yeah.
I'm sure there probably is. It has to be. It has to be, because it's just like when you see that your life has been spared the way, I mean, the dude literally went up to him, pointed the gun at him. He was like, and he was like, oh, sorry, and then ran away. You know what I mean? Like, that's just insane, because this guy was very intentional about going and trying to inflict harm on as many Black people as he possibly could.
Period. And
that was it.
Period. And that's why I'm saying it's important for us to know what is the gender of the other white person who was killed or shot, injured, because what appears to me is that what is apparent to me is that when he saw a white man, he retreated. Because there is also, right, which we're not going to, I want to be careful.
We're not going to let it overshadow. We're not going to make that the main point, but we're going to point out the fact that it exists.
Because women in general, sexism in general is an issue that these white men have, right? So they'll kill their own women. Men, they will spare. Now, the sad part, though, is that when we try to organize with white women to help save even themselves, they will still overwhelmingly support the white men.
Stand by their man
Overwhelmingly, who will kill them with no problem, take away their right to have abortions, won't pay them equally, all of that. And yet and still, that when it's time to vote for their white man, their white supremacist husbands, they stand with them overwhelmingly, 53, 54%. So white women, they're not doing enough work. And that's why I need to know, because when somebody gives me what I think is true, I'm going on every platform I can to talk about the fact that White women, y'all still keep on siding with your husbands. Meanwhile, homeboy stood right there and looked at a white man and said, oh, I'm so sorry. You're not my target. And I don't care what y'all tell me, there is no way that an 18-year-old child studied the maths by himself and has been studying white replacement theory alone. It's not true. So that means that he's a part of a cell.
Listen, that's very accurate. We know this to be true, right? But the question is, what are we doing to combat it, right? Because there have been multiple reports over and over again saying how white supremacy is the greatest threat to domestic terrorism in this country. But yet we aren't doing anything about it. So we want to know, what's your plan for it? Like, let's talk to the government. What's your plan to combat this issue? What's the budget look like? What's the staff look like? I mean, you got all this stuff for all these anti-terrorism, homeland security stuff, for people outside of the country who don't look like us. But when you get on and explicitly state that the greatest threat to democracy here in this country is white supremacy and white terrorism, but you're not doing anything about it, you're part of the problem. Part of the problem.
Well, let me
we have a structure that supports it.
But let me give y'all this as a point, right? So this guy had already been in trouble, I think a year ago, because he threatened to shoot up a school. I don't know if it was his school or a school, but yeah, it was his school because some students overheard him talking about it. I think he wrote some stuff online. So he was already arrested. They did some mental health check on him and they released him, right? And sent him back into the world. Now check this. Let's put a pin right there and look at the 9-year-old boy who walks across the street to a Black family's house. A white boy, white 9-year-old child walks across the street to a Black family's house looking for their daughter, their 9-year-old daughter, and uses a whip hitting their car and the door, right? And this lady has to tell him to get the hell out of there. Then the father goes over to the white family's house. The Black father goes to the white family's house, and the white man pulls a gun out on this Black man because his child went over to their house threatening this Black family. Police, oh, well, they're gonna move soon. Don't worry about it. So now here's the parallel. You've got a boy who threatens to shoot up a school. What do? Send him back into society. They do nothing. To your point, what are we going to do? At what point does a child who even mentions something about shooting a school become a target that has to be somehow or another dealt with, right? Then you've got a kid, 9 years old, he's already the 18-year-old. He's already on his way to being the 18-year-old. What did the police do? Nothing. So I understand when the people of Buffalo say, what the hell are elected officials and Joe Biden and all these people, what are you coming here for? Because you're coming to do the prayer vigil, but the prayer vigil is not enough. We need action on these issues. And to your point, the resources need to be coming down into our communities so that we can protect ourselves.
That's a fact. So one of the things that I think that's at our advantage right now is that, we have the attention of people in power, and people are asking us, what do we want? What do we need? And okay, so we're going to tell them, we're going to give them a plan of action on what we want and what we need, and really, hold their feet to the fire. Like, are you going to step up? Because time and time again, we've seen it happen over and over again when these mass shootings happen. Their thoughts and prayers, their vigils, but when the cameras go away, the energy just dies down, and then it's just on to the next one, right? So we need to figure out, okay, if first of all, what our plan of action is going to be, and we have to be cohesive in our messaging, and we have to be on one accord with our messaging. And then once we do that, we hold these people accountable. Like if you say that you're gonna, that you're there to support us and and provide us the resources, okay, this is exactly what we need. And I think right now, again, because we have the attention of everyone, we want to make sure that that we're capitalizing on that.
You have to, man. It's just like I said, man. I'm just at a loss for words, man, because everybody makes these things political. You know, the left is the right, and it's like, how do you support anything, right? Any organization, any system, or anything that furthers this, that perpetuates it. Like when we talking about Fox News and Tucker Carlson, like sometimes me and Tamika watch Fox News just to see how crazy people are.
We watch
like
it all the
we
time.
literally do.
Me
Like
too.
because we have to understand what the open enemy is doing. We have to understand what they're thinking. So when you hear what Tucker Carlson says, shit like this, and we be like, yo, this man's bugged out, they not taking it as bugged out. These young kids are taking it and they're writing it down and they're living their life, and then there's somebody else programming them, and they really actually carrying out mass acts of destruction and massacre against us. And we have to be aware. Like at this point, when you know, unfortunately, when we in our communities, before we used to look and see a white boy, like, what he doing in the hood? Like we gotta be real scared now.
Yeah,
Like we
when
you see a white boy walk into the hood, you gotta be, it gotta be a whole different reaction.
Bro, that's how it was the other day. That's how it was the other day when I was there on Saturday and on Sunday, you know, at the scene of this situation that happened. You know, to be honest with you, I'm side-eyeing all the white people that's there.
Yeah, because it's a copy.
You know, I'm just
these copycat murders, they happen all the time. It don't just happen one. You know, it's usually another one directly after because somebody wants to copy it. But like, we are endangered species. Like this shit is really crazy to me. Like every time things, and it gets closer and closer, you know, unfortunately I was locked up in Orleans, which is by Buffalo. So I got a lot of Buffalo friends and a lot of people I know from Buffalo. So, you know, I see a lot of my friends on the internet. You know, my son's mother's sister lives out there in Buffalo. So, you know, it's a concern. And it's just like, wow, like it's getting closer and closer. Soon they're gonna pull up in the hood in the Bronx with the same thing, because that population there.
But Buffalo, to what I'm hearing is this community in Buffalo is the hood in the Bronx, right? It's the hood, it's the same thing. So that's another problem. It's like we get disconnected from stuff. Like, oh, well, that happened over there. What stops them from doing it right here in a city? Yeah, in a city in Alabama, it could be anywhere that these people pop up. And so I think what you said, Jamil, is so important, that we have to use all of these moments as an opportunity, not just to sing and cry about it, which we deserve that. We deserve to sit with and feel, right? Like even today, it's hard for us to find the right words, because to Mysonne's point, we never need to get to a place where this is just normal to us. It always needs to penetrate, right? But we have to be more strategic in terms of how we approach all these people with resources who are coming into the community. And I think that's what's important. It's like, what do the people need? Pastor Mike of Live Free, an organization that also has, I think they have an office there in Buffalo as well. And they do a lot of mental health work. They are sending in mental health specialists for the next couple of months to try to help people in the community process what has happened. I need to connect the two of you if you don't know Pastor Mike, Jamil.
No,
So,
I would love to connect with him.
Yeah, so things like that, like real deliberate action needs to happen, and whatever it is that we can do to be supportive. I know you have something that is going on. It would have already been today and will be in tomorrow. So you can say that you held something yesterday. So I'll go back.
Okay.
I know you did something yesterday where folks showed up, you know, and whatever we can do, whatever resources we can give, we want to be supportive. We want to be there, you know, in any way that we can to support you and the entire community of Buffalo.
No, and we really appreciate that, because one of the things that we realize is that we can't do this work in our individual silos, right? It's going to take a collaborative effort, you know, amongst people locally, people outside of the area as well, right? Why I think what we're doing right now is important, because, you know, you guys are helping to amplify the challenges that we have right now. I think everybody has a part to play. We can't expect people to all play the same role the same exact way, right? We have to like understand where people's strengths are and utilize them for their strengths. So, what you guys are doing right now, this is really important for us because it's helping us to amplify that message. And hopefully in that amplification, we can start to develop the right collaborations and getting the resources that we need to make sure that things like this don't happen again. One of the things, again, I mentioned this earlier about that grocery store being the only one in that neighborhood and on the east side of Buffalo. We would love to get the resources that we can put another grocery store in the area. You know what I mean?
Like it's things now. Is it closed?
It is closed right now.
So right now there's a food issue in terms of getting, as you said, fresh fruits and vegetables and other things to families.
And even with the vigil that we did yesterday, it was okay, we did the vigil, but we also did a food distribution as well. Okay. We want to make sure that we have a presence. We did that on Sunday as well, the day after the shooting. We wanted to make sure that we do have a presence in the community. And again, I have a vested interest because I have an office over there in that community. Right. So I'm just as much a part of that community with everybody else. So, but we want to make sure that we have the resources that we need so we can have long-term sustainability. And so this is just not a one-off situation, because again, the moment is going to die down. We understand it happens all the time. History is often a good indicator and a good predictor of the future. So we know that this situation is going to die down. The eyes of the world is not going to be on Buffalo in a very short period of time. So one, let's take advantage of this opportunity that we have right now, but also for those listening, let's see how we can all collectively come together, right, to kind of help us make sure that we have some long-term sustainability for the folks that live in that community and in that neighborhood.
Well, for me, we definitely want to support you, and we're going to support you in any way that we possibly can. But I think for me, deeper is accountability, not just to him, but anybody that fuels that level of hate, anybody who spews that level of hate, like there has to be intention. People like Tucker Carlson and Fox News and others that we know have fueled that. Like when we look at the insurrection, things like these things are fueled by things. Right. And they're fueled by people who know what they're doing. So I think for us, we have to focus on the fuel. We got to focus on and target those people who are directly, these are the people, like they said, where there's darkness, there'll be sin. But the guilty one is not the one who commits the sin, it's he who creates the darkness. So we got to start getting the people that's creating the darkness.
Absolutely. That's a fact.
Well, on that note, Jamil, thank you for being with us. We in touch anyway on the fly. We've been that way and that won't change. And we need to figure out how we can really help to continue to elevate your voice. You didn't just pop up, as a leader. You've been Buffalo all the way. We all know it. You brought us to Buffalo, and we'll be back to be, standing hand in hand with you to figure out what we can do to help the community. Much love to you.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for this platform to help us elevate and amplify, our message up here. Really appreciate it.
We want to send out prayers. I want to send out prayers and condolences to the families and those who lost their loved ones, and just the whole community of Buffalo, and just saying that we with you, man. I know it's tough times. It's overwhelming for me. Like I'm just tired of seeing Black people dying.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired. There's so much death, that it's just becoming overwhelming. So I know that if you feel like I feel, man, just take a deep breath, man. Tell somebody you love them. Only thing that can stop hate is love, man. So we gotta love ourselves a lot, man.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. Man.
Yeah, and I'll say this last thing. The one thing that kind of keeps me going is the fact that I did just have my first child, right? So my newborn, my son's sire, my Prince sire, and being able to go home and see him and to hug him and to know that, I'm gonna, unfortunately, I have to raise him in a world where I have to teach him that his skin color might be a threat, but knowing that, he's going to be able to carry on the legacy of what we're doing right now. That's my fuel. So I'm doing this not only just for my people, but for my son as well.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, Jamil.
God bless you and your family.
I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
So, it's not a lot of words to say. I think Jamil, he is, such a important leader. And, these things happen in certain places and at certain times that we have to recognize also like God's hand, right? Because Jamil is an incredible organizer. So the fact that this happens in a community that he's in makes me feel like people, for whatever it's worth, they're going to be all right, right? Because I know what he's going to do. I know the work he's going to put in. And I want us not to, because we talk about these issues, and like you said, it becomes political, the left, the right, the this and that. But there are actual families, there are actual names that need to be called and people that have to be remembered. And so I think for us today, since there's not much left to be said, we should really acknowledge these actual individuals and not just talk about them as if it's just, it was just a shooting. No, our grandmothers and grandfathers and our brothers and sisters, they were killed by someone who targeted them, and they could have targeted any one of us. So these are our fallen soldiers. Roberta A. Drury, she's 32 years old.
Marcus D. Morrison, he was 52 years old.
Andre McNeil, 53 years old.
Aaron Salter, 55 years old.
Geraldine Talley, 62 years old.
Celestine Cheney, 65 years old.
Hayward Patterson, 67 years old.
Catherine Massey, 72 years old.
Pearl Young, 77 years old.
Ruth Whitfield, 86 years old.
Zaire Goodman, 20 years old. She was treated and released from the hospital.
Also Jennifer Warrington, 50. She was treated and released from the hospital.
And Christopher Braden, 55 years old. He had non-life-threatening injuries.
Their souls rest in peace. May the pain of their families be found some level of relief at some point.
God bless.
God bless. Thank you for joining Street Politician.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv.